Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Wellert, and I am privileged to have been asked by Ms. Hughes to work with her sophomores at Sentinel High School for the last, I don't know, it seems like 2 months. It is a program very dear to my heart. You're going to see me a little later doing a living history about Fort Missoula. But being a veteran myself, it is imperative, my belief, that we have veterans honored and that their wisdom and their knowledge and their stories be told to younger generation people. And that's sort of what's happened with us. And I'm very, very proud of the young men and women of the class that have worked here and worked on all the different projects, and I hope you enjoy their work tonight. I would now ask you to stand, and Pat Hewell's Cub Scout pack will do the presentation of the colors.
Guard, present colors. Guard post colors. Please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance for our national colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Guard, dismissed.
Please be seated. Thank you, and that certainly is a Boy Scout troop, and it's Troop 11. Some bad information. I would now like to bring up, being blind is a terrible thing, you know, not being able to read. I would now like to bring up Chris Miller and Cheryl Hughes, who are going to tell you a little bit about the project that they have been working on together.
I suffer the same affliction that Mike does. I need my glasses too. And Mike has been a phenomenal asset to Chris and I and to all the children you see here today. We ran into him quite by accident when he was doing his imitation of Nick Collier, which you'll see later, and it's just amazing. But he became friends with us and helped us put together this evening so we could share what we've been doing in our classroom with all of you. And this is sort of a unique way to do English class. Very, very different. But this all started with just a couple of novels, and I'll explain more fully what our intent is, but I have a full slideshow that if you'd like to take a look at it afterwards, I'll have it projected up here. We have such precious time in this program. I don't want to take the time up because the kids have tons to tell you about, but this has been an incredible experience, and I think one that the kids will never forget. I know Chris and I won't, and all the people who helped. There were so many people that got in and just pitched in to make this a really special night, and I really want to thank all of you.
Cheryl asked me to talk for a few minutes about service learning, And before I do, Gretchen, are you back there somewhere? I'd like to introduce Gretchen Wetter, who is spending a year of her young adult life in service to Sentinel High School as an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer. And without her efforts, a big chunk of this would not have happened tonight. So thank you very much, Gretchen. So back to service learning. These projects are a service to the community of Missoula. Service learning is a stretch, and I'm going to take about 2 minutes to tell you about what it is. Service learning encourages students to take what they're learning in the classroom, the knowledge and skills that they acquire in a classroom, and take it out into the community to address real needs in their community. Because service learning is tied to the curriculum, students who participate often report a deepened understanding of the kinds of things that they're learning in the classroom. And frequently, service learning projects help students to answer the question, why am I learning this? And what will I ever do with it? As I said, service learning is always addressing a real community need. And so I want to talk about those needs, the two that are identified with these projects tonight. The first, which is pretty universally identified, not just on our local but our state and national levels, is the need to know our own past and to learn from our own history. The way we do that is not just through history texts, but through connecting our history and understanding how interrelated it is with literature, poetry, drama, music, and film. And you'll find that Ms. Hughes' students have done a wonderful job of addressing that particular need in their production. The second is the need for civic engagement, not just for youth, but for all of us in our communities, and for our students to be prepared to be fully engaged in their community when they finish high school. I think that as you watch tonight and listen, you'll find that Mrs. Hughes' students have done a wonderful job of addressing those two needs. And I hope that you will find yourself honored, fascinated, and entertained. Thank you very much.
We did more work. We just want to thank Miss Hughes for all that she's done, all the hard work that she's put into this.
This is really cool. Thank you. These guys have made enough posters, believe me. You look around, this is great. You guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
My understanding is the mayor is here, and I would like to ask him to come up for a few remarks.
Good evening, folks. It's unusual that I need a microphone. Are we doing okay without it? All right. Well, I won't go on and on. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening, and I'd like to thank Mrs. Hughes and all the folks who are engaged in the presentations this evening. My dad, Roy, is 86 years old this year, and he served in World War II from about 1941 until the close of the war. And in my youth, we didn't go camping. And I often said to my dad, "Dad, how come we never go camping?" He says, I did it for 4 years. And he learned a lesson from that, and I did too. A lot of that is about sacrifice and commitment, and really an understanding of what this nation means and what service means. And I, in my own way, am fortunate to engage in public service. And we do it in big ways and small ways. We try to make a difference in our communities. And I'm really tickled tonight to be here in no small part because history, a place where we can understand some of our mistakes and some of our triumphs, is at play. And the folks you're about to hear from tonight understand that we've made mistakes and we've also done remarkable things. And those remarkable things have perpetuated, I hope, a culture, an environment, and a government that is responsible to the people we serve and to freedom in general. That's all good, and we're in Heritage Hall to celebrate that tonight, which is even better. It's unusual for a politician to be brief, I know. Probably should have asked for public comment at some point this evening as well, and if you'd like to email me at any point, you're welcome to do that. The freedoms that are available to you. But without further ado, we have lots to see this evening. I wish I could say to you all evening. And I apologize for being a little bit late tonight. Came down West Broadway. We can talk about that later. And I'm sure we'll have that opportunity. All that said, it is really a privilege to spend time with not only young folks and teachers, but folks who support those young folks and those teachers day in and day out. It makes a huge difference. You're giving them great opportunities and great experience and choices that only parents, committed teachers, and really a committed community can provide. So for all that, I thank you and thank Ms. Hughes, and I suspect you'll have something to think about this evening, folks. So good to see you all. Thank you very much.
I've been asked to introduce several special guests. The first from Sentinel High School, Dean Yule. Would you stand, please? There he is, way in the back. Also, we are very, very privileged to have a member who was a detainee from 1941 till 1943 here at Fort Missoula. He is an Italian and came off a cruise ship. His name is Alberto Benedetti, and he's right here in the front. Also from the finest generation, veterans of World War II, if you would rise when I call your name, and if I miss you or if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. Jim Whistler, Tim Samberg, Robert Touche, Stanley Hughes, John Keefe, Tate Jones, and George Martin. And Mr. Thatcher. Nate Thatcher. David Thatcher, I'm sorry. Sorry, sir, very much. Wasn't my list. Now I would like to bring our first student up here for a poem written by Maya Angelou, The More We Are Different poem, and is read by Diego Steele. Diego?
Can everybody hear me? All right, so first off, oh, not working. I was told that there's a white Explorer outside with your lights on, so you might want to go fix that. Okay, I'm lying. I've just always wanted to say that, honestly. It feels good. It does. It does. It feels great. That's my mom's car. All right. Well, before I begin, first off, I'd like to thank all of you present tonight for coming out here to support the students who have worked for countless days, very hard. Determination has been their main goal. They have worked very hard, my friends, and I'm very proud of them myself. And if you think it was easy, you're wrong. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Hughes for letting me get up here and speak. I really appreciate that. And also for educating the students on a very big part of our nation's history. So Mrs. Hughes, thank you very much, and we all appreciate that. And in addition, I'd like to thank all of those who have had some part in letting this event come together. Because this event is for those who will never forget and who will always be affected by the events that we remembered here tonight. And if we could, just give a round of applause for everybody who has worked hard to bring us here tonight. I'll be reading a poem by Maya Angelou. The poem focuses on diversity, and it focuses on why diversity is important and valuable in our world today. It is time for parents to teach our young early on that in diversity, there's beauty, there's strength. We all should know that diversity makes for a rich tapestry. And we must understand that all the threads of the tapestry are equal in value, no matter the color. Equal in importance, no matter the texture. Our young must be taught that racial particularities do exist, but that beneath the skin, beyond the differing features and into the true heart of being, fundamentally, we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. Mirror twins are different, though their features drive. Lovers think quite different thoughts while laying side by side. We love and lose in China, and we weep on England's moors. We laugh and moan in Guinea, and we thrive on Spanish shores. We seek success in Finland and are born to die in Maine. In minor ways, we differ. In major, we're the same. Now, I do recognize that there are many differences of all types and sorts. But we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. Thank you.
Now, for our pleasure, two young gentlemen. One who has a cold, and he told me to tell you that, so you can guess which one has a cold. And they're going to sing from Rodgers and Hammerstein's South Pacific, Some Enchanted Evening. Let's see here.
We did not think we could properly perform the song unless we had two lovely young ladies up here with us.
So we're going to get our assistants.
Yeah.
Some enchanted evening, you may see a stranger. You may see a stranger across a crowded room, and somehow you'll know even then, that somewhere you'll see her again and again. Some enchanted evening, someone may be laughing. You may hear her laughing across a crowded room, and night after night, as strange as it seems, the sound of her laughter will sing in your dreams. Who can explain it? Who can tell you why? Fools give you answers why I never try. Some enchanted evening, when you find your true love, when you feel her calling you across a crowded room, then fly by her side and make her your own. All through your life you may dream all alone. Once you have found her, never let her go. Once you have found her, never let her go. Thank you.
The next is, I am an illiterate when it comes to computers, and I have been watching now some of the videos and some of the PowerPoint things that these sophomores in high school have done, and I was thinking of doing one for Fort Missoula, and I'm not going to. I'm going to have them do it for me, because I can't do anything like some of the really special things that you're going to see tonight. And the first one is called Color Makes All the Difference, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's going to take just a few seconds to set it up.
I really tried. Is it pushed up, Mike? Are you good? Okay. I tried really hard to. It doesn't sound like it's because of the computer. Anyway, I'll just yell like I do in class every day. The kids that did this production really are just too shy to come before you and explain all the hard work that went into it. The first part of it is just a compilation of photos that they researched, and it's all about internment camps all over the west coast of the United States. And then what they've done is take a twist and actually dramatize a scene in a local soda shop, actually in downtown Missoula. And they dressed in costumes for an MCT and had a bit of a hand at what racism felt like in a little coffee shop in downtown Missoula. And so it has two separate parts. It's
way you sip your tea, the memory of all that. No, no, they can't take that away from me. The way your smile just beams, the way you sing off key, the way you haunt my dreams. No, no, they can't take that away from me. We may never, never meet again on the bumpy road to love. Still I'll always, always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, the way we danced till 3, the way you changed my life. No, no, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away from me. Yeah, yeah.
Going to dance Saturday? Yeah, I'm so excited. Are you going? I don't have anyone to go with. Oh, me and Bobby. You want fun? Guys, check it out. Did they not see the sign that says no jacks? Especially after they bombed us. They think they're on good terms with us. She locked up all that stuff they did. I would feel so much safer if they were all locked up. This is ridiculous. I refuse to eat here if they're going to serve Japanese. Waiter. Yeah, can you please alert the cops about that? They do not deserve to be.
I'll get on it right away.
Thank you. I feel so much safer with those Japanese locked up in those camps where they deserve to be. They should all be in there. I don't understand why they're out in the first place. I wonder how long it's going to take the cops to actually come and lock them all up. This is ridiculous. They need to get out of here right now. Yeah, really. I don't even want to look at them. Good out of time they got out of here. I'm glad they're gone now. Now I finally feel safe. Now if they're locked away, they should all drop.
Now, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing a very special guest this evening. He's dropped by from way back in time. This gentleman named Nick Collier was once the superintendent of the internment camp here at Missoula, and he's going to share a few of his memories with us this evening. And you may recognize him from an earlier spot in the program. Thank you.
I'm not going to use my microphone if you can all hear me. My name is Mr. Collier. I'm the superintendent, or was, until a few years ago, the superintendent of Fort Missoula internment camp. I'm honored once again to speak to people from Missoula. I used to do it on a weekly basis at the Rotary Club and to the Kiwanis, and talk about what's happening at the camp. Some of you may not know how it all started, so I'm going to just give you a very, very brief idea of some of the things that happened and how it all started. Back in it started in 1939, when the Germans attacked Poland. Many ships, cruise ships, German and Italian and Japanese, mostly German and Italian at that time, were told by their government to go into neutral ports. So they went, the United States was neutral at that time, so they went into the Panama Canal and New York Harbor and stayed there. They stayed there for almost a year. And things all of a sudden got a little touchy. It was rumored by the press that the Italians were scuttling their ships. They were destroying them so the British couldn't get them, because they were sure, the Italian government was sure that as soon as we got the ships, the United States took them, we would give them to Great Britain. This is, of course, what happened. We did take the ships, and about 6 months later gave them to Great Britain. But in March of 1941, our Coast Guard and Navy, the bloodless Battle of Atlantic, took the Italians and some Dutch and some German and brought them all to Ellis Island. And from Ellis Island, a group of them, and the Italians, a group of officers were sent to Fort Missoula, Montana, which they couldn't get any farther out of the way, as you all know. And they sent officers here, and the officers looked around and said, it's a beautiful place. We'll get them settled. And by train, about a little more than 1,000 Italians came here and were put into the detention camp. Now, the Italians were very, very, very good to work with. One of the smartest things I ever did was put self-government, where they had their own mayor, they had their own sheriff, they had all of the offices needed to run the camp, and they did. And so problems were solved by the Italians. All the time that the Italians were here, which was from 1941 through the end of 1943, we never had an escape attempt, and we also had very, very good relations. But you have to understand, these men had not seen their wives and their families for 2 or 3 years. So we also had problems just talking to them and keeping them busy so they couldn't remember, or they didn't think about it all the time about their families. So they did many hobbies. You all know about their concerts because they came from cruise ships and from the New York's World's Fair, which I forgot to mention, but they came from there too, the Italians. They were musicians and artisans, and they entertained here at Fort Missoula for you people here in Missoula. And they also gave a portion of the money that they collected at these concerts and gave it to the Iron Lung Foundation here in Missoula. They were very, very good to work with. There were only 2 incidents that I can recall. One was the Great Beef Suet battle. One of the dumbest things I ever did was, the Italians were used to using olive oil for all their cooking. Well, I got some pressure from Washington because we had a very, very large amount of beef suet hanging around. So I said, well, we'll use the beef suet for the Italians. This lasted for 1 meal, where they went into the kitchen and plummeled the poor cook with the beef suet. So we ended that right away. The other thing that happened was a man from New York went back to Italy and told the Italian press that Fort Missoula was a concentration camp, that they were guarded by the lowest of the low criminals and by Jews. This became a huge, huge issue in the papers. The New York Times sent somebody here to check on it and found the Italians to be happy in their own circumstances, the circumstances they were in. Well, then came Pearl Harbor. And you know what happened then. And things changed. The Italians were no longer just detainees, they were enemy non-combatants. And the Japanese came here. The Japanese were only here for 1 year. This was an interrogation center. People like, some man you might know yet, Mike Mansfield, was one of the judges. There were panels of 3 judges that interrogated the Japanese and questioned them on their loyalty to the United States and made the decision whether they were going to be set free, which rarely happened, sent to a camp, or given parole to another American citizen. Most of the people that came through here, the Japanese that stayed, were over 60 years old. That was their average age. Those that left were sent to their families. My favorite Japanese story is about, it's a lot about Missoula. I'm going to end it with this. It's about a Japanese internee who went out to town. He did get passes, and you know, the Italians are working for you at the hospital and other places, and they did a lot of good work for you. But the Japanese were given a pass, and he went out with a border patrol guy and walked into one of the grocery stores downtown. And a young lady, a teenage lady, said, "Are you Mexican?" And he thought, here it comes. No, he says, "I'm Japanese." And she said, "Well, do you live around here?" He said, "Yeah, I live at the intern camp with the Italians, and we're, you know, we're the countries at war with the United States." She said, "Well, you from Japan?" And she said, "No." Or he said, "No, I'm from Hawaii." And she said, "Hawaii? Well, that's part of America. Why would they put an American from Hawaii in an intern camp?" The man looked at her and thought to himself, "That's exactly what I'm trying to figure out." The Italians and the Japanese did not get along very well together. The joke was that if the war ended badly for the United States, the Axis powers would be at each other's throat within a week. But it was a good camp. It was run fair. It was one of the best camps of all. Certainly, even the Japanese that left here wrote us letters saying they wanted to come back. Better here than Fort Sill, Oklahoma, or Tule Lake, California. This is going to conclude my speech for tonight because I have very little time and need to move on. But I hope that just gives you some kind of briefing, a little bit about what happened here in Fort Missoula during World War II. Thank you.
This is a video that was done by one of our students, just one. She did a fabulous job. Her movie was actually about 14 minutes long, and she's being so thoughtful of you because we have so many things to share. She took the very best part of her movie, and we're going to play it for you. It's an old-time radio show, and the parts that are deleted are some things that you may want to look at later on. She has old Dreft commercials for Dreft soap and for Lifebuoy soap. She has a spot of Nat King Cole singing the blues because he didn't get drafted, and we all know why. And but she chose this particular segment, and she has done an incredible job on this work. Thank you so much.
This is the young lady that made the movie.
Lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze and listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please, don't fence me in.
Just turn me loose, let me straddle my old saddle underneath the western sky. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise.
I want to ride to the ridge where the west commences and gaze at the moon till I lose my senses, and I can't look at hobbles and I can't stand fences. Don't fence me in.
of land under starry skies. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze and listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please don't fence me in. Just turn me loose, let me straddle my old saddle underneath the western skies.
On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I want to ride to the ridge where the west commences and gaze at the moon till I lose my senses, and I can't look at hobbles and I can't stand fences. Don't fence me in. No, Papa, don't you fence me in.
And now, by Frank Lesser, Baby It's Cold Outside, by Tawny Hughes and Mike Vander Sanden.
I really can't
But
stay.
baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go
But
away.
baby, it's cold outside.
This evening has
Been
been
hoping that you'd
so
stop in.
very nice.
I'll hold your hands, they're just like
My
ice.
mother will start to
Beautiful,
worry,
what's your
and
hurry?
father will be pacing the
Listen
floor.
to the fireplace
So
roar.
really I'd better scurry.
Beautiful, please, your
Or
hurry.
maybe just a half a drink
Put
more.
some records on while I
The neighbors might think,
it's bad out there.
say, what's in this
No
drink?
camps to be had out there.
I wish I knew
Your
how
eyes are like starlight
to
now.
break the spell.
I'll take your hat, your hair looks
I
swell.
ought to say no, no, no,
Mind if
sir.
I'm moving?
At least I'm gonna say that I tried.
What's the sense of hurting my
I
pride?
really can't stay.
Baby, don't hold out.
Ah,
Baby,
but it's cold outside. I simply must
But
go.
baby, it's cold outside.
The answer
But
is no.
baby, it's cold outside.
This welcome
How
has been
lucky that you dropped
so
in.
nice and warm.
Look out the window at that
My
store.
sister will be suspicious.
Gosh, your lips look delicious.
My brother will be there at the
Waves
door.
upon a tropical shore.
My maiden aunt's mind is
Ooh, your
vicious.
lips are
Well,
delicious.
maybe just a cigarette more.
Never such a blizzard before.
I've got to get
But
home.
baby, you freeze out there.
Say, lend me a
It's
coat.
up to your knees out there.
You've really been
I thrill
grand.
when you touch my
But
hand.
don't you see?
How can you do this thing to
There's
me?
bound to be talk tomorrow.
Think of my lifelong
At least
sorrow.
there will be plenty implied.
If you caught pneumonia and
I really
died,
can't
get
stay.
over that holdout.
Ah, but it's cold outside.
The next one is a special pleasure for all of us. Hero is a word that we use a lot, and a lot of people deserve it. But when I heard that some of our young men found a veteran by the name of David Thatcher, who was one of Doolittle's raiders, people of my generation and older know who they are. The younger ones, I can give a little bit while they're setting up. Is that a little bit of information that I know? I would rather that Mr. Thatcher did that. But it was the first raid on mainland Japan during World War II. Many of the planes were shot down. Many of them ran out of fuel and fell into the China Sea. It was one of the most brilliant and daring raids ever conducted in warfare. And we have had 3 young men from Miss Hughes' class, Chase Bjornson, Jake Sanders, good, and Sarah Fleming. Gentlemen?
Do you mind introducing Mr. Thatcher? I think that the group would like to.
I would like to correct something. None of the planes were shot down.
None of them. That movie's wrong.
That's a big mistake. Everyone's seen, or most people have seen Pearl Harbor. There's an older one named 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, which is based on Mr. Thatcher's plane. And this is David Thatcher right here, if everyone can see. He is one of only 12 remaining Raiders, so this was a great privilege we had to interview him. And our movie is to show an accurate description of what he did, what it was like. I mean, there's one to watch a movie and then one to hear it from someone who was actually there. Chase, you want to take it?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Mrs. Hughes, for putting all this together. We spent countless hours working on this project, and it's definitely been worth it.
And we also did another interview, John O'Keefe, but we had the brains to do that at Pizza Hut, and Pizza Hut was gracious enough to turn up the music and put a crying baby next to us. So we were unable to get that in there, so I'm sorry, Mr. O'Keefe. And yeah, here's my movie.
There was about 22 crew that picked up first, and a couple of the airplanes made some bad landings or washed out. Cops nose going in training, so they needed extra planes like that. So we had wound up with 16 airplanes finally, and we flew was flying down there, right down over the water, over the Gulf of Mexico. When we were training in Florida, usually a B-25 will take 2,000 or 3,000 feet off the ground. We took all the weight out of the airplane that we could, and just a small amount of gasoline. And then they started shortening the distance we took off. We cut it down to 1,000 feet, and then down to 800 feet. They're still able to get off to 600 feet, and they were finally able to get off in 400 feet, which is an extremely short distance. We had a Navy pilot at Eglin Field that had flown off a carrier, and he trained all the pilots to make sure they could get off in that shorter distance. 3 days or less after we left San Francisco, then they announced over the loudspeaker that that our destination was Japan. And a big hoop went up all over the carrier. All the sailors, they just yelled and hollered. About the 13th of April, I think it was, we met another small task force that also had one carrier, 2 cruisers and 4 destroyers and a tanker. So that made up the task force, a total of 16 ships. The carrier we were on was the USS Hornet. And the carrier in the other group was the Enterprise. And if it couldn't reach our takeoff point and they run into a task force out there, they were going to push our airplanes overboard because the Hornet could not protect itself with us on deck. They could launch their plane. The only great protection we had was the airplanes on the carrier Enterprise. Our original plan was to take off in the evening, bomb Japan at night, and fly on to China and arrive there after daylight. And we were supposed to get within 400 miles of Japan. Well, they run into a packet ship, a small Japanese fishing boat, and they were able to sink in immediately. But they were afraid that they had radioed to Tokyo that there was an enemy task force out there. So we had to take off immediately. We found out later that this packet ship had radioed to Tokyo, but the Japanese Navy knew that no U.S. aircraft carrier plane could reach that far, so they weren't prepared. They took off about 9 o'clock in the morning on the 18th of April, about 650 miles from Japan. Well, when we took off, they headed the aircraft carrier into the wind and got it up to about 35 knots, I think. So when I got on the airplane, the wind was blowing across the deck so hard you couldn't hardly stand up. So we had plenty of lift to get off. We were number 7 to take off. Then Lieutenant Colonel Doolittle was the first one to take off. He had no trouble getting off. When we took off, they locked the brakes and run the engines up as hard as they can. And there's a Navy flagman there twirling a flag, and he can tell by the sound of the engines that they're full power. And he gives you the signal to take off. They take off when the bow of the carrier is closest to the water. The ship is rocking up and down the whole time. So then by the time we got to the end of the runway, the end of the bow of the ship, and then it was the highest off the ocean end, and that gave us some more lift to get off. Our target was a steel factory in Tokyo. As we came in over the beach, when we took off, the weather was real rough. It was Saturday, right at noon, beautiful weather, beautiful day. The sun was shining. We came in over the beach, very low, 50 feet off the water, and there was a lot of people on the beach, and they waved to us. We were flying so low I could see the expressions on their faces. They were cheering. I'm sure they thought they were Japanese planes. After we left the coast then, it was over an hour before we got to Tokyo, and there was a formation of 6 planes came towards us, but we were flying so low that they didn't see us. The planes were olive red color, a dark brown color, and we blended right into the country, so they just kept on going. That's the only enemy plane we saw. We were flying 50 feet all the time, which is, that's quite a thrill to fly that low. As we saw Tokyo ahead, we could see the enemy aircraft fire coming up. After we left Tokyo, they used the gasoline out of that rubber collapsible tank in the crawlway. Then I was able to roll that to one side, so I had room to crawl to the pilot's compartment that way. As we approached the coast of Japan, the coast of China, the weather got bad, and we finally, the pilot spotted a strip of beach, and he was going to try and, it was raining, almost dark, and he was going to try to set it down on that strip of beach. But when it come down, immediately it turned us over. And the pilot and co-pilot were both thrown out through the plexiglass of the cockpit. They were still strapped to their armor-plated seats when they came to in the water. The navigator was leaning with his shoulders up against those armor-plated seats. There's just a narrow distance between the pilot and co-pilot seats, and the bombardier was coming back through the tunnel going up to the bombardier's compartment. He was thrown out through the bombardier's plexiglass and very seriously injured. The plexiglass on the nose of the bomber had shattered, and he was had the imprints of the bracing of the plexiglass on top of his head. The pilot got a very bad gash in his left leg and in his arm, and most of his teeth were knocked out. And the co-pilot got a pretty bad gash in his right leg. I was in the back of the airplane. I was knocked unconscious for a while. Finally started to come to, and what I thought was the bottom of the airplane and water rushing in there. Finally realized the airplane was upside down. The plexiglass on the turret had shattered, and that's where the water was coming in. There's an escape hatch on the bottom of the airplane. I was able to push that open and get out there. We left there shortly after 11 o'clock, starting across the island. We found out later that the Japanese, we went down to Japanese occupied territory. The Japanese landed 65 soldiers there, came looking for us. Then we traveled by train and boat until we finally got the big city of Hanyang on the Yangtze River. And there we waited for an airplane to pick us up and take us to Chongqing. And then we left there and flew over the Himalayas to Calcutta in a twin-engine cargo plane. And then from there flew to Karachi, which is still India at that time. Now it's Pakistan.
To the affirmative, don't mess with Mr. In-Between. You got to spread joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum. Have faith or pandemonium, liable to walk upon the scene. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale, Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything looked so dark? Man, they said we better accept you ain't the positive event.
And they're going to play guitar music in front of it. Nod if you're ready.
He was a famous trumpet man from out Chicago way. He had a boogie style that no one else could play. He was the top man at his craft. But then his number came up and he was gone with the draft. He's in the army now, a blowing reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. They made him blow a bugle for his Uncle Sam. They really brought him down because he could not jam. The captain seemed to understand, because the next year the captain went out and drafted the band. And now the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. A root, a toot, a tootly out, a toot, he blows an A to the bar. In boogie rhythm, he can't blow a note unless the bass and guitar is playing with him. And the company just a leap is reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. He was some boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. When he played boogie woogie bugle, he was busy as a busy bee. When he played, he made the company jump A to the bar. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. A tootly out, toot toot, he blows A to the bar. Can't blow a note of a bass and guitar with him. And the company just beneath his reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. Boogie every night and wakes them up the same way in the early rise. They clap their hands and it steps their feet, but they know how to go from against the beat. Won't fall and get up when he plays the lead. The boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. Keep blowing A to the bar. Can't blow a note of a bass and guitar. Fall with him. And somebody doesn't leave his reveille. He's the boogie.
Now we have one more video, I believe. It's called Mixed Voices Documentary. I know it's the documentary that was done with Jason Harrington and Brandon Johns with Mr. Benedetti.
Mr. Benedetti and Mr. Grossman.
And Mr. Grossman.
I want to just say a few words. These two young men made me crazy. And I had a substitute teacher today who swore that I was trying to herd cats. We finished this video about 12:05 today, and they have worked like troopers. This was a huge job. They interviewed Mr. Benedetti, who is one of the internment people from Italy, who subsequently joined our armed services during the Korean War and has become a great part of our community. Most people know him very well, known as Bert, okay? And also Ray Grossman, who was, Mr. Grossman, would you stand, please? Thank you so much. Okay.
I'm Brandon Johns, and this is my partner, Jason Harrington. We did a documentary, and we interviewed both of these men that you just were introduced to. And I basically just want to thank Ms. Hughes and everyone that was involved in all of our introduction stuff. Anything?
We'd like Mr. Grossman to stand again, and special thanks. And Mr. Burt. We'll help you out. This project was kind of like real life. I've gone through journalism class and I never realized that deadlines and stuff like that were really important. And we've had technical problems and stuff like that, but we ended up pulling it off. And so, thank you for Mrs. Hughes putting up with us. And I'm going to narrate the slides in here, because I guess you can't see them in the back, so go ahead, Stuart. We often hear stories of America's great triumph in World War II, and we look at how the Nazis interned the Jewish people. We shunned and hated the Nazis for imprisoning the Jewish people. We never hear about how during World War II we interned the Italian and Japanese people. We fail to see what our own country was doing at the time. We need to be aware of our history because, as we can see today, history does repeat itself. Mr. Ray Grossman.
My name is Ray Grossman. I was a member of the ROTC at the College of Agriculture, University of Nebraska. When I graduated in 1942, I had a commission as a second lieutenant in the artillery. I entered the service as a second lieutenant from the ROTC program. I was overseas from May of 1943, and I came home in December of 45, and our division saw combat in Sicily and Italy, although I wasn't there, France, Holland, Bulge, and Central Europe.
And we asked Mr. Grossman about his most memorable moments, and he replied to us.
We were part of the first mass parachute drop that ever attempted by the United States Army in July the 9th, 1943, and the invasion of Sicily. And we landed in Olive Grove, and we were scattered a long ways from where we were supposed to be, so it was it took a while to get organized and to find out where we were, and then process of getting all of the airborne troops gathered up together, which took a while.
When we asked Mr. Grossman whether he believed World War II was necessary, he responded,
I thought that World War II was a necessary war, and one that had to be fought, and unfortunately had to be fought with men and the explosives and casualties, so forth.
At the end of the interview, we asked Mr. Grossman if he had anything else he wanted to say, and he said,
I like to look back on the time during WW2 and how the country all pulled together. And I had hopes that maybe there'd be something that would bring us together again like that. I think for a half a day or a day after 9/11, the country all pulled together, but it all fell apart shortly after that. I think it's a tragedy that the American people cannot support the war effort and still have their political and so forth differences rather than approaching it with in a divided manner in which you're now doing.
Mr. Burt, as he is commonly called, was interned right here at Fort Missoula during World War II because he was Italian.
Oh, I was born in Italy, and the place, the town, is Vasto, Vasto. but I was born over there. But I live in Genoa, where I had my job.
When we asked Mr. Bird about his life and goals, he replied,
So I had a lot of dreams. Grateful I have my own house and I'm going to marry this and that. But then I succeed, so I come back here. And then I went to teach in my city, you know. And from there, to teach in high school was too young for me. But it was very good, and you know, it's a country place. So I came back here on this university, and I started to go to school here. Instead of going to foreign language, I went to education, philosophy of education. The course was the foundation of philosophy education, and I went a 6-year program.
we asked Mr. Bird about his memories of coming to Port Missoula, and he said,
You know, because when we came here, the entrance, now they closed, but it was all the trees, everything. I mean, fantastic.
we asked Mr. Bird what he did when he was released from Port Missoula.
Well, I went to work. I left here, I went to work to Columbus Hospital.
And we asked Mr. Bird about his service in the Korean War.
My branch, we don't fight. This was a special branch unit. There were a major, captain, and so many kids to go around. Information, you know.
And we also asked Mr. Bird whether he received reprimands.
After internment? No, I didn't receive nothing.
It's amazing what we can learn from the older generations. It makes you wonder what else you can find out if you look hard enough. And once again, I'd like to thank Mr. Grossman and Mr. Burt. Give him a round of applause, please.
And now, I don't see them. Okay. Move It On Over by Hank Williams, and a dramatization that I believe one of the young men is going to introduce here prior to. So I give you Ty Semenich, Ryan Simon, Dan Fahey, and Wyatt Blevins.
Ryan Simone here will introduce the song, and then afterwards I will tell you a little bit about the play.
We're playing Move It On Over by Hank Williams Sr. It's one of the first rock and roll songs from the 40s. If you hear the original version, it sounds more like country, but
What he means is he's rock and roll Hank Williams Sr. is what he means.
So move it on over. Move it on over. Move over, little dog, 'cause the big dog's moving in. She changed the lock on my front door. My door key don't fit no more, so get it on over. Scoot it on over. Move over, skinny dog, 'cause the fat dog's moving in. This doghouse here is mighty small, but it's better than no house at all, so ease it on over. Drag it on over. Move over, old dog, 'cause a new dog's moving in. but I done let the deal go down, so pack it on over. Tote it on over. Move over, nice dog, 'cause the mad dog's moving in. She warned me once, she warned me twice, but I don't take no one's advice, so scratch it on over. Shake it on over. Move over, short dog, 'cause the tall dog's moving in. Crawl back to me on her knees. I'll be busy scratching fleas, so slide it on over. Sneak it on over. Move over, good dog, 'cause the mad dog's moving in. Remember, pup, before you whine, this side's yours and that side's mine, so shove it on over. Sweep it on over. Move over, cold dog, 'cause the hot dog's moving in.
Hey guys, don't break anything.
Well, right now we're gonna do a drama that I wrote. It's basically about two different soldiers in the American Army. One's Caucasian, one's Japanese, and it's about the racism that went on probably during the war. And Ryan's the Japanese one, I'm the American. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, please. Don't shoot, coming in.
Alright, I need some help here.
I can see that. How are we gonna get out of here?
Well, we're behind enemy lines, so we're just gonna have to go through to get back to base. Wait, you're Japanese!
No, I'm a Japanese American. I'm on your side. I'm just doing what I'm told to do.
Well, they could have said an American.
I am an American, born and raised. Just because my parents were from Japan doesn't make me any less of one. I'm just doing what my authorities told me to.
Well, you tell your authorities I didn't need any help. Grenade! See, I can take care of myself. You go tell your authorities I didn't need any help. See? You saved my life. I know, after all I said to you, I owe you an apology. My name's William Benedict Jr. Sorry.
I'm Yoshio Tomowaki. I accept your apology. I just ask you to treat me like an American, like everyone else.
Deal. Let's get back to base.
Now we're going to ask the Sentinel Choir to come up here. Before they do, I would like to introduce Ron, how do you say your last name? Sharf, who I believe as a veteran was in Iwo Jima, and we forgot him in the list. He gave us an article, and I'm very quickly going to read just the first chapter because I think it says a lot, or the first paragraph, excuse me. Some veterans bear visible signs of their service, a missing limb, a jagged scar, a certain look in the eye. Others may carry the evidence inside them, a pin holding a bone together, a piece of shrapnel in the leg, or perhaps another sort of inner steel. The soul's ally forged in the refinery of adversity. Except in parades, however, the men and women who have kept America safe wear no badge or emblem. You can tell a bet by just looking. It's been a great honor for me to be involved with this program. It's something that I just feel is so incredibly important to get young people and other generations together and keep this story alive. Now, the last thing I'd like to say is, please give these kids a great deal of applause. Public speaking is the #1 fear in the United States. And they came up and they really did perform very, very well. So thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Well, before we end the show tonight, I would like to thank Cheryl Hughes for inviting my women's choir to perform tonight. We got so excited about the invitation that we learned our song in just 1 week's worth of rehearsals, and the girls are really excited. And after they perform their song, we would be very honored if you would stand and sing America the Beautiful with us. It's in your program, so you can see the 2 verses that we'll be doing tonight. Okay, girls, come on over.
Break the mood in the middle of our song, but I would like to thank these incredible girls and all the kids who put so much into this, all the adults who